There was once a language that nobody alive today has ever heard spoken. It was never written down, and yet linguists rebuilt it almost completely. This invisible language links English, French, Russian, and Hindi. And not just those. It also links Bengali, Albanian, Irish, Persian, Spanish, and many more that don't sound related at all. Welcome to the Airlearn Language Show. And if you want to dive deeper and actually practice language yourself, check out the Airlearn app. It's designed to help you learn languages naturally, from beginner phrases to advanced grammar. English, French, German, Russian, Greek, Hindi. At first glance, these languages seem completely unrelated. Different sounds, different scripts, different cultures. And yet, linguists agree they all descend from a single ancient ancestor. This family is called Indo-European, and today it includes many of the most widely spoken languages on Earth, used by more than 40% of the world's population. But how did anyone figure this out? How did scholars realize that languages as distant as Irish, Albanian, and Bengali belong to the same family, even though they don't sound alike at all? To answer that, we need to follow the clues hidden inside everyday words, the kind you use without thinking. The first clues. Long before modern linguistics existed, people started noticing strange similarities. The Romans observed overlaps between Latin and Greek. Scholars in the British Isles noticed that Welsh, Cornish, and Breton seemed connected. Icelandic scholars spotted similarities between Old English and Old Norse. But the real breakthrough came when European travelers reached India. They noticed something uncanny. Sanskrit, an ancient language of India, shared deep grammatical and vocabulary similarities with Latin and Greek. This wasn't borrowing. This was something older. It was as if three distinct branches of a tree suddenly revealed the same pattern in their rings. At first, many Europeans believed that all languages came from a single divine source, often assumed to be Hebrew, inspired by the biblical story of the Tower of Babel. But in the 16th and 17th centuries, scholars began questioning that idea. Joseph Scaliger grouped languages by structure instead of scripture. Marcus von Boxhorn proposed a shared ancestor he called Scythian. And in 1786, William Jones famously stated that Sanskrit, Greek, and Latin must have sprung from the same source, even if that source no longer existed. That idea changed everything. For the first time, language families were treated less like legends and more like testable hypotheses. From there, linguists started acting almost like linguistic detectives, comparing patterns instead of stories to see which languages were truly related. During the 19th century, linguists refined the theory. They realized Latin gave rise to the Romance languages. Slavic languages formed their own branch. Germanic, Celtic, Indo-Iranian, Baltic, Greek, Armenian, all fit into a larger system. Some languages people assumed were related, like Hungarian, Finnish, Arabic, or Tamil, turned out to belong to entirely different families. Eventually, the name Indo-European stuck. That's how you get the wild fact that Bengali in South Asia, Irish on the Atlantic coast, and Albanian in the Balkans all sit in different branches of the same giant family tree. They don't look like siblings on the surface, but deep in their grammar and core vocabulary, the family resemblance shows up. You can't just compare random words. Languages borrow words all the time, and sometimes similarities are pure coincidence. So, linguists use the comparative method. They compare the most basic, everyday words, like numbers, family members, body parts, words that cultures rarely borrow from others. For example, look at the word for 5. Latin, Greek, Russian, Persian, English. Different sounds, but clear patterns. From these patterns, linguists reconstructed an ancient word that likely sounded like
Pingue.
a word no one ever wrote, yet one we can still hear echoes of today. The same trick works with words like mother, brother, or heart, where tiny sound shifts line up across dozens of languages like a secret code. When those shifts are consistent, they're too systematic to be random. They point back to a shared ancestor. By tracking consistent sound changes, linguists slowly reconstructed an entire language, now called the Proto-Indo-European. We don't know what its speakers call themselves. We don't know what they believed. We don't even know exactly where they lived. But evidence suggests they lived around 6,000 years ago, somewhere near modern-day Ukraine and southern Russia. They knew horses. They used wheeled vehicles. And as they migrated, their language split again and again into new branches. Archaeology and ancient DNA now back up parts of this picture, linking the spread of certain cultures and migrations to the spread of Indo-European speech. So it's not just a language story. It's also a story about how people, technology, and ideas moved across continents. Over centuries, Atlantean languages emerged, like Hittite. Indo-Iranian languages spread east. Greek, Armenian, and Albanian formed separately. Italic languages gave rise to Latin. Germanic languages formed near the North Sea. Celtic languages spread across Europe. Latin survived and evolved into French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, and Romanian. Other branches vanished, leaving only clues behind. Some branches, like Attalonian and Tocharian, disappeared completely as spoken languages, but their text still helps confirm the family tree. Proto-Indo-European was never written, and yet it lives on. Every time you say mother, name, 3, or night, you're speaking fragments of something ancient. Language isn't just a tool. It's a memory. And when you learn a new language, you're not starting fresh. You're reconnecting with something thousands of years old. You're also learning to hear those hidden family ties. Why pater, padre, and father feel strangely close. Or why tri, tres, and 3 line up so neatly. And if you want to go beyond just watching, you can practice what you learn with the Airlearn app itself. It's perfect for exploring new words, practicing pronunciation, and seeing how languages connect in real life. So the next time you see Bengali, Albanian, or Irish on a map, remember, they're not random dots. They're leaves on the same enormous Indo-European tree. Hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time with another story on the Airlearn Language Show.